All right, so if I had one more session with you to explain what's important, be two things: movement and framing in. So the idea of framing in, and I still have some trim work apparently, the idea of framing in is you don't want to have your ends hanging off. So by doing this, and you're just doing a simple, you can do a single line, you can do two, whatever, it gives you a way to hold all of that in, okay? So what happens is you'll have an edge that looks cleaner. Now I did use kind of a looser weave fabric. I don't recommend that for beginner level. However, I have tortured Anne with an E with that on my stuff at Christmas. I do believe that if you put your mind to something that you can do anything. This is just a good example of what the back side's gonna be. At the end of the day, I'm gonna go back in and I'll trim all of this off. The other thing you want to make sure of is if you're buying fabric, that if you have a sewing machine, that you go ahead and at least do a zigzag. I have a serger, so that's a unfair advantage. But if you have a serger, that's even better. Or ask the place that sells the monk's cloth, the foundation cloth of choice, if they can serge it for you or sew it for you. That's important because you can see with frayed edges like this, if I let it go, I'm just going to lose strand after strand, and that's probably one of the major issues of damage to a rug is when the foundation cloth begins to fray and wear away. So the more we can do to protect it or to strengthen it, the better it is. So that's part one of that. Part two is the sky. I don't know if you can see, it's not just about the hand paint yarn. It really isn't. It's about the movement. I love to outline my flowers because you can see where that light is. It actually pushes that petal forward. Up close, I ask myself, well, why did I do that one so dark? And why did I turn this one this way? But the reality check is that my light source is coming from over here. And so I knew that with my lighter cuts, if I could get them in there, then you would have knowledge that they're actually turning and facing towards the sun, and these are the shadowy sides of my flowers. So just by choosing how you place your fabric is going to make a huge difference. Now with this, I used prodding method, which is basically taking thicker cut pieces. In fact, here we've got a little waste yarn. This is actually a pretty small piece compared to what it could be, but these are size 8 cuts, which is just one size up from what I've got. When you're prodding, generally what you're gonna do is you're gonna take big cuts and you're gonna pull them through with the intention that either they're already trimmed the way that you want them to be, or you're gonna go back in and you can trim them to whatever level you want. So since we're in the Texas Hill Country, and I would assume anywhere that has hills, you know that it's not flat. It's not a flat surface. And so by doing that little bit of texture, ouch, ooh, there's a pin there. Doing that little bit of texture, you can see I'm able to give, from a distance, quite a bit of depth in my pattern. And that's just incorporating 3 different colors of greens. And so I used this offset green here, which is obviously not even in this family. It's more blue and this is yellow. By even adding in just that little bit of a blue-green, it helps to delineate where my hills, where the lines are my hills by using a shadow or light effect. So this is important. As you're playing and learning, do know that if you think about it in painting, if it's something that you've done before in a different medium, it's most likely possible that you can do it with rug hooking. Now, the idea is we love wild colors. So, for instance, my sky, you can see, has a lot of different colors in it. It's not just blue. The other thing is that to create movement, if you are nervous by any means to do it, go ahead and draw lines on here. Take your Sharpie, or if you have a good pen that you trust, go ahead and do it. I prefer Sharpies because they don't really ruin anything, because they're much better now than they were years ago. But you can go in and create your movement around your flower, and that's going to make a huge difference. And I would do the same thing with your grass. So I chose a more blasé green But knowing that I did that, even though there are hints that, oops, stop you, monkey. Sorry, now you're welcome to my shop. If you're not a monkey, you're whatever, a puddin'. This actually has some yellow tone to it. The biggest issue is knowing how your fabric's gonna work, and we're gonna tighten that up because it's driving me bonkers. There are two sides to every story. If you're looking at something, let's see, a good example, you have this side, it has a rainbowy, I don't know if I can get that close enough, you see it, oh, I twisted it, hold on, there's one side. If I flip it over, there's this side. Okay, so there is a difference. This one's a little bit brighter. This one has less texture and is duller. So when you're planning how to hook, figure out what side you want to show and you can make it happen all the way through. So with something that's a little bit more plain like this, I'm gonna go ahead and do probably some, I'll make a kind of fisheye out this way, and then kind of follow the lines and maybe end up straight along here and then go back in and I'll frame that all in again. But that's basically my advice for that, is play. And the other thing too is, before you start your sky, go ahead and turn it to your advantage. Oops, I just pulled my yarn out. Whatever. Anyway, you're gonna turn it to your advantage. So again, you want to tighten it up, you know, the more tight you can get it, and it's just a movement, really, just to tighten it, and you've got those little bristles to hold it. That way you can work up and down, and it is so less painful, and it's still easy if you want to follow the outline. You're still working technically up and down. So work to your advantage. Play. Don't be afraid to doodle on here to give yourself lines to follow as you're still learning how to do this. Experiment with color. I realize that the kit that you may have with this particular flower is fairly straightforward, but it doesn't mean that you can't play. And so if you find that you've got some cotton fabric and you run it into strips, you have to strip it. Make it sure that it's easy to work with. You can actually mix and match and add some cotton fabric texture in there as well. So the possibilities are somewhat endless. The sky's the limit. I think I've told you everything that you need to know, but if you have questions, you can always message me through Facebook at Suzu's Woolworks, or you can email me at jennifer@suzuswoolworks.com, and I'll make sure that that's on the YouTube video. All right, I hope you have a great day.